Sonia G. We are here live for Manifested Break the Curse bundle with Elevate the Globe, and Tara is about to come on live with me. You guys are going to get an amazing live, so stick around, grab a drink. We're going to do this. I'm going to put in a comment over here that we can pin. Okay, break the curse. Tara, we're going to talk about Tara's experience. So I'm really excited. Here she is. And I think you guys are going to relate. So you want to listen to this because it's happening all around. Also, can we have a hallelujah about the fact that we're starting this live on time? This is like a new thing in my life. Here she is. Yay, amazing. Okay, stick around. Go grab a drink, you guys. This is going to be good. Tara is coming on, I think. Did I push the right button? Sorry if I didn't do that right. There she is. Yay!
Hello. Can you see me?
Gorgeous. How are you? Hi, Michelle. Hi, you guys. Say hi.
The internet. Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you.
Okay. Hello.
We can see you. Hi, Chris. We're talking about breaking the curse. Hi, you guys. This is all things that you guys hear me talk about. And we're going to talk about Tara's experience today. There's so many things that we can always talk about.
I know. I'm so happy to be here.
Welcome.
I just wanted to be outside and it just started pouring.
Oh my gosh.
I'm underneath a little awning, but in like a, whatever. We're here. Are you back in Utah or are you still in Colorado?
I am back in Utah. This is the new place. Everybody here knows it. Look how fab. It's amazing.
Oh, I love that. I love the angel wings.
I know, and all the galactics, everything. I mean, let's not break this moment. This is working well, so let's do this.
Yes. Okay. Cool. Well, anyway, I'm so happy we're getting to talk about this because we talked for like an hour over the weekend.
Look at what Jessica just said. Okay, I'm sorry. I may look at some of these comments, Tara, and interrupted. She said, I just completed break the curse, and it was life-changing.
Yeah, it is life-changing.
Thank you for sharing, Jessica.
I can't see any of the comments for some reason, but that's okay.
Oh, weird. I will read them as they come up. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it is life-changing.
If you have questions, ask us. Last thing I'm going to say. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Where do we want to start?
Well, I want to say this just for context. So Tara and I have known each other since 2017. Mm-hmm. Hallelujah, 7-year cycle. We were just talking about this from the eclipse. And we, since Elevate the Globe, her and Britt started doing this manifested bundle, I have been so happy to be a part of it because they're doing such amazing work on the planet. And so I was, in fact, do you guys know something? We should probably say this too. This is just a little tiny bit. In 2017, when I first got online, when this account was underground, and I think it was still Wise Vibe Tribe. It was I was just starting to come online, and I was like, what? How do we do social media? I was inside. Yeah, I was inside of Tara and Britt's. It was your first mastermind. It was yeah, back in the days, it was amazing. And I discovered Kundalini and all these things, and the rest is history 7 years later.
Yeah.
But it's so awesome to just see the growth. And Tara and I have always kind of I want to say almost benchmark, but not really, along the way, hey, are you feeling this wave? Hey, is this happening over there for you too? Are you guys feeling this, right? And so every so often we kind of just, behind the scenes, feel into these waves and talk through some things. And one of the things that really stood out this year was this, we have to break the curses. And so I told Tara about like, you have to do this course. Like I am talking about this stuff and it's crazy. And then it became a part of Manifested, the bundle, which everybody needs to get. By the way, comment or DM me like Manifested if you haven't gotten the link yet, because it's like only on for like 2 more days, 3 more days.
Till tomorrow
Till
night at
tomorrow
midnight. So like
night at midnight.
11:50. Yeah. So
So
yeah,
get it.
we're winding down with it, but it's the third year in a row we've done it, and
Okay.
this course in itself is probably one of the most profound that I've taken in I mean in your work, really. I mean, I haven't done a ton of stuff on your end, but like this, we've done work together, and this one was like, just because it just really can shift a lot and help you stretch to places you didn't know that you like needed to go to like actually change something that like I found something that was hidden from me that I knew was there, like I knew something was there, but I couldn't figure out where it was. And I knew that it had to be beyond my Kundalini practice. I needed support in a different way. And so when you were talking about this, I was like, that's what I'm feeling. That's what I'm like. I don't know exactly where it is though in my energy. And until I went on this journey with you, it was like I found it. Like I found it and it was so far beyond where I thought it was that I was like, I'm not sure I would have found this that easily. Like I don't even know if I would have. Like I needed this. And
Yeah.
uh,
But it's kind of like what we were saying just the other day on the phone too, like after, because we chatted about this. And it's like it's part of the curve of like it's some things are still hard to explain. The level of work that we're able to accomplish in the astral planes in the way that we do it inside these astral meditations, which is literally like a quantum leap of doing all sorts of work, really. But it's like sometimes you don't know that you need it
yeah.
because we don't even like it's communicated through frequency in so many ways. So it's like I kind of feel like I need to do that, but then so often it's like I have so much resistance towards it. I don't know if I want to put in like an hour, 2 hours, for this thing. So
Yeah. Well, and that's what happened because we talked not this last weekend, but the weekend before on Sunday. And I said I was going to do it. And, I wasn't feeling that well. And I had it on my to-do list for like the whole week. And I kept opening it and I'd be like, I'm going to do it tonight. And then something would sidetrack me. And I'm like, this is literally just an hour and 45 minutes. Like, there's a little bit more integration time and some pre-work to do, but it's like it's not that big of a deal. But I made it this huge thing that like it was gonna take up my whole night. And so I finally sat down though on Saturday night and was like, this last Saturday night, I was like, you are making this a big deal, and because you're making it a big deal, you probably really need it, and it's gonna change things for you. So sit down and do it. And it's like
that's
watching
usually
a
how it
movie.
goes because it's our resistance. We know it's like subconsciously we know that something inside of us like truly really needs it and that's about to shift. So it's like caca. Yeah.
Well, and it's weird because I'm like, I can do an hour and 45-minute Kundalini class, but this was like I just because I felt like, and I know your work, like you really you have to be very focused. And we had talked about it a couple months ago, and I said I want to try. We had kind of talked about what you were doing, and I'm like, I feel a little bit of like I want to try this on my own, and I could only get so far. Honestly, I was like, this is not. I need to be guided to know how to do this, and I fell asleep as I was like unhooking things, and I'm like, that's odd. Like that was odd to me that I fell asleep, and I almost fell asleep again doing the guided meditation, the astral meditation. And I woke myself back up because I'm like, you can't lose focus. Like, this is important. Like, of course you're trying to fall. Of course it's like having you fall asleep and lose the connection. But it's also like, it wasn't that big of a deal. And once I like started it, and I was like, it just changed a lot for me, like a lot, like a lot. And it was such a small investment of time to have such a large, you know,
Yeah.
payback.
Yeah.
And I feel the same thing about this bundle. It's such a small investment for such a large payback for you. So it's like this course on its own, just this module would be $444. And the whole bundle with 16 other courses is $99. So, you know, you get a taste of Sonia's work. If you guys, I mean, a lot of you follow Sonia, and even in our community, a lot of people know you, you know, and they've done a lot of your work. But this, if you haven't done it, like, this is like important. It just feels like really important to talk about,
Yeah.
you know?
Thank you. I love it. It's like, I'm giggling because it's like, it's hard to find the words, right? And that's
Yeah.
why literally when I started talking about this, because it happened for me, like it impacted my relationship because I was coming up against the same stuff in my own terms. And it's like, it's such a change because everything in our blood gets changed, right? Like our codes change. So our available reality on planet Earth changes. And so there's a big resistance. I had personal resistance about looking at these things for myself. And then I was like, you know, oh my God, this is what I need to do. And so when finally, like, I showed up, and it's always like, I mean, it's scary for me, yet it's my soul's job, right? To like go and do these things. And then everything changed. But because of the way that I had to understand it, everything fell apart for me. First, it had to be like, you know, it was like the breakup of my relationship, like changing all the life again. Like I had to face what I thought at the time were like my, you know, greatest subconscious fears. Like, what if everything that I've built goes away, or like all of these kinds of things. So it's kind of like, it just happened for me a little ahead of the curve because I feel like everybody's kind of going through that shift now. Like, oh my gosh, everything is crumbling, right? And I just kind of went through it just a little while ago. And so then I could realize, but why? Why would we have to do this? And it's like, well, you didn't actually put the effort in to the level that it was required. And so, yes, it is like effort that's required, but is it worth your life? You know, like, is it worth like mental sanity and like abundance and like health and relationship, like
Yes.
wealth and, you know, yeah. Yeah. So,
It almost becomes silly afterwards. You're like, okay, just sit down. It's like literally such an experience too. And I'm telling you, like, I was high as a kite, like for like hours. Like even the next day, I was like, what is going on? You know, Britt was like, do you feel any different? And I was like, I don't know. And then I started to like kind of come back down. And I was like, oh yeah, I feel so much different. Like I feel so open, like everything shifted. And to be honest with you, it's now Wednesday. We had an eclipse too, but I'm still kind of like, I just need a little bit of more cocoon time to like integrate everything. And I think a little bit of that obviously is the eclipse, but I don't know. I did that like massive healing during a massively healing eclipse. And I'm just kind of like, wow. Just a really, really special experience. And I was talking to you about stuff like, Rexy, I'm right here. Just relax. My dog is like absolutely losing his mind. Couldn't find me.
oh,
So silly. But I was talking to Sonia on Sunday, and I was talking about like how, because you don't say this actually in the guided meditation, but like all of a sudden we were like transversing all of these different dimensions, and you said, you know, stop at some of them to see if there's any messages. And I got a message at the 25th because I was coming down the ladder. The 25th I got a message, the 17th I got a message, the 13th I got a message. I wrote it down, and then all of a sudden they all collapsed and formed this big container, and you knew exactly what that was. And I was like, that's so like wild to me, because it was just naturally happening. Like you did not guide any of it. It just kind of happened. And then you knew exactly what I was talking about. And I'm like, these are the things where these types of experiences are quite challenging to talk about. That's why you want to experience it. Like that's, you know, the Kundalini yoga, we always tell people go experience it. Like it's a different, you when you experience yourself, and now Sonia's taking us out into like dimensions beyond dimensions, you know, it's like you stretch so far that like you don't even really know that you can go that far, and then, you know, it's
and
like,
then you do, and you're like, oh my God, this is so much better. And like,
you're like, I
there
didn't
are
know I could
things here, there
do
are
that.
parts of me here
Yeah.
that I needed to reconnect with and I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were, you know, and there's things that universally happen to people that like, you know, I have no idea. I didn't realize the dimensions were collapsing on each other, and you're like, yeah, that happens, and it's happening for a lot of people, and I'm like, that's just weird. Like that's weird, you know, like in like the best way, but like that's very interesting. You know,
I
like that people are
want to
having
explain that a little
experience.
bit because it might
Please.
help, like, for everybody that's kind of like, I know that the majority of my students, all they're like, yeah, we know this, but anybody that's new, right, or anybody that's like jumping into this experience, because I feel like this is now about to be more, not mainstream, but mainstream on the people that are like ascension, you know, climbers, like people that are actually doing this work. It's going to come to your attention one way or another, because it's our chakras, right? So we have this system. I'm going to take a little bit of a round loop, but it'll make so much sense. We have this system, which is this patriarchal system that has been stuck in this 12, the number 12. So much about our reality is just governed by 12. It's an agreement to our reality. Well, once we realized that the 13th had been cut off and hidden, and the 13th is the higher self. Oh, we lost Tara, but I'm going to tell you guys this, and then hopefully she'll just jump back on. Once we realized that the 13th was cut off, and it was everything about the divine feminine, okay? This is like the chakras. Here she is again. Let's bring on Tara really quick. Hi, Mark. Hi. Oh, what is happening? There we go. You're back.
I literally said, like, literally as the 13th was cut off, and then I left.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. You're like, wait. I think my phone was actually in the sun, so I'm gonna move this just in case it has anything to do with that too. So, hi, loves. Welcome. Okay, so we were talking about this 12 to 13 thing. So once oh my gosh, Tara is is like disappearing again every time we say like 13. What is happening? You guys, this is so wild. Okay, Tara, come back. Here we go. Wow. Okay, let's ground in, because let's like set the intention for this to truly, it's like it's things that need to be talked about, and you know, sometimes we get interference. So let's like encrypt this transmission. Let's hold this in light and everything. So amazing.
Okay.
Whew.
Sorry.
So I'm going to now say, like, we discovered the divine feminine. And then we realized this disconnect was happening in the higher planes, right? So we have these 7 chakras in the body. Then we have chakras that connect us to the core of the earth, to all the ley lines and everything, to the akasha at the heart of the earth. And then we have chakras that connect us all the way to the higher self. Well, by the time you get to higher self, that number is 13, right? So these are our chakras that really just don't fit in the body. What are chakras? They're energy portals. They contain information. So we have information that's literally like up here, right? Outside the body. And so it's like, once we learn to connect that, but the cool thing that happened was that it was the shift. Because at first I was understanding the chakras and the Akashic records and everything, because our Akashic records, for all of you readers and like mappers that want to understand this, our records are on the 12th. They're on this 12th floor. They're on the 12th dimensional like thing. And so it's like you feel like you've reached, right? Like a place. Like for a while back when I was starting, it's like, oh, we're, you know, this is the records. This is where we're going. This is the top. And then as I understood that there were also ancestral chakras with the ancestral records, right? That was the next segment of 12. And then it was like, oh, but there's beyond that, right? We keep going up, and that's my job to map all of this. And it was like, we're going all the way to 36 because this is the source code chakras. Like we're getting into source code. So we open these up, and this has literally been my job to like anchor these energies into the grid. And then it was like something was still missing. And I remember one day it was inside of source code. So it's like, I think this was 2021 or 2022. And we were like, I mean, everybody was stoked because we're traveling to 36, we're getting answers, right? And then one day it was like, holy shit, it's 13, 13, and 13, right? We unlocked that higher self. And then I realized this has been hidden in time in so many places. Namely, think about the Catholic Church, which was the beginning of all of this religious, you know, like occult stuff. And it was the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, and they hid them. And it was like 1, 2, and 3. I know it kind of gets a little wild, but like since all of these religious systems are also falling apart, we can see how that was hidden, right? And the feminine was hidden. Everything about the feminine was distorted. And once we figured this out, so this is kind of the shift, right, from the 12th to the 13th, where we actually, it allowed us, once it was like the Kundalini rising, right? That goes all the way up through. And it's like, oh my gosh, these are all of our records. It unwinds all the way up. We go all the way up. And so what happens is once everything is connected, you are sustained while the dimensional collapse happens because you have all these pieces. But can you imagine if you haven't figured this out and all this shit gets slammed, you know, like which is what's happened for a lot of people. It's like, oh my gosh, there's all this weight on my shoulders. There's so much that's like coming in. And it's like, it's because we have to integrate it and we have to reconcile with it. But it's so much better when you're like, oh, this makes sense. Like this makes sense. And now it's coming in and it's like, oh, but there's a reason. And I understand what was there. And I understand I'm integrating my ancestral knowledge. I'm integrating the source codes. This is the knowledge that couldn't fit, right? That we're meant to birth on this planet. Like we didn't have it in our bodies, but now it's coming in. And so the more work you do, the more easier this is. Yeah. But yeah.
That's very interesting at the 13, 13, 13. How does that, I guess, in terms of like, okay, the collapse that happened with me between like 25th and 13th.
Yeah.
That's almost 13, 13, isn't it?
Mm.
No.
So almost, yeah. So 13 is your higher self. Mm-hmm. And then 25th, you're starting to get into the records. These are ancestral records. Yeah. And you're right before, it would be 27th, which is our galactic center. You know, like 27 degree of Sagittarius, galactic center, Milky Way galaxy. It's the same. And we just kind of connect. It's almost like you get into this like sacred geometry, kind of like divine, you know what I mean? Like alignment where we literally connect with all of these like, you know, different multidimensional lines, but it all comes together.
Yeah. And like the message was interesting because I went immediately, first thing that happened, you guys, was Sonia asked you to open up your energy field. And I felt this kind of like force field around me that really did not want me to open up. And it was annoying. It was like, felt like gravity kind of wanted to like keep me here. And I don't know if it was my own force field of like, you know, there's been just some kinks in my energy and I don't know what it was, but I had to kind of really open it up from my heart and really kind of, it just needed a lot of attention to even just open up. And then immediately we started going really high and I went up to, I thought was only like the eighth dimension and then realized it was not. It was actually further than that. But I saw this massive kink in my energy. And it felt like, that the chakra pillar, right, like is super strong, but it felt like it immediately went like this at one point. And it was like this, like a pipe, like a C curve in a pipe. And
you could feel the energy kind of like sideswipe.
It felt like
yeah.
the pillar was there, and then all of a sudden I could visually see it too. Like felt like almost like a hand or something was like pushing in on it and creating a full distortion.
Yeah.
And it was so high that I couldn't. I just wouldn't. Not that I couldn't get there. I just wouldn't have thought to check that high. Like
where these things are hidden.
Yeah, I just I wasn't aware that that's probably where it was. I was aware there was something I needed to clear. I just didn't know where it was. And the fact that it was that high, like it was so close to the monad, like the just full soul family, that like I just wouldn't have gone all the way up there. It felt like I was only checking to like the eighth dimension. Like, and then I had to go out. I was like, oh, it's up here. And so I started to like fix it. And you didn't say this, but I had to pause the video. And I was like, I knew that you had mentioned something about like codes and words, and I had to take like a golden thread. And you were talking about like really like strengthening the pillar. And so I was like reinforcing. Mm-hmm. And it took a lot, actually. This was not it felt like the kind of energy that I felt when I was trying to open up. It was like pushing on me, and it wasn't bad or anything. It was just kind of like a tricky energy of like, there was not ever a disconnection, which makes you think that there's a disconnection, right? Like I felt like, is there something disconnected? Never. It's never disconnected.
Had a lot of interference, but also you have to think this was your first time going up there, right? And so it's kind of like, it's almost like you're cleaning out the cobwebs. It's like, oh my gosh, I have a presence here, right? So you're going up, and everybody that feels called to doing this now, like for the first time without ever having like fully gone up there, it's like, yeah, you're going to probably have additional retouches to do. It's kind of like you're remodeling your energetic flow, mm-hmm. right? And so it's like for you, and it's always so individual, right? Because like how cool that you got to like, like reinforce it. It's like, no, this is important. This has been like distorted. This has been hidden from me. It's almost like, the healing balm.
Yeah. And I will say, like, I actually have gone all the way there, but I never built something like sustainable, if that makes sense. Yeah. Right? Like the sustainable connection to that was not there. I had sort of fleeting in like in my sadhanas. A lot of times I'd get there, but like it wasn't a full super solid connection.
It wasn't structured. A lot of people get there. A lot of people have like moments where it's like even like gong sessions, like you go out of your body and you're like, oh my gosh, I saw this, or I had this moment, or medicine journeys. A lot of people for medicine journey end up in these places, but then they're like, how do I get there? What is it? What does it mean? Right? And so it's like, this is a different way of accessing that. And it's like,
it's sustainable. It's like an actual sustainable, it's so funny because it's like
sustainable.
It's sustainable.
Yeah. Sustainable chakra flow energy.
It is. It's like, that's what I see it as. And that's really what I'm focused on, is like creating sustainability in everything I'm doing. Right. So it's like, to me, that's what that is. It's like the understanding of how to access those planes. And you've got to like have a strong chakra pillar developed, and your energy developed, and also the knowledge to go up and down and not just kind of have a fleeting moment. And I got there and I met these guides that I know these guides. They came in and delivered Elevate the Globe to me in 2016, and they were kind of pissed off. They were like, they literally, there's 3 of them. They showed up, and you said, what do they like, see what they look like, and they looked kind of Grecian to me, and that's how they've always looked. And one of them, the main guy, was like, you're back. This is like the tone was like, and this was like his vibe, like, oh, you're back. We've missed you. We've been trying to connect with you. like, what happened? Like, what
Where did
happened?
you go?
And they're
Yeah.
like, what happened from our perspective is your heart was not able to fully handle everything. And so you felt a collapse, even though it wasn't collapsed. And so you let in something that kind of distorted the energy. And, they were like, you're not allowed, you're not allowed to fail us. Like, you need to connect, keep this connection. Like, it's very important to your journey to keep this connection. And I kind of felt reprimanded, and I was like, okay, you guys, great, but like, can you help me? And they were like helping clear out my heart. Now, I will say this is part of my journey back in 2021 November. This is when like my kind of tower moment started happening in just all aspects of my life. And I started with my heart, and I remember opening it up in Sayulita and saying, like, I felt I had a ton of grief that was unprocessed. And I remember I had a meditation, I did a Kundalini meditation, and I puked afterwards because I was so open and emotional from it. And
Yeah.
so I was in this process of cleaning, and so that it all made sense when they were like, yeah, your heart just wasn't strong enough in the energetic field to handle all that we were giving you. And so you collapsed. And so they were like, we're going to make it easier for you, and you need to keep the connection. It is the utmost importance. Like, do not let anything get in the way of this. You need it. And it was very firm. Sometimes the guides are not very nice
Well,
to
and
you.
that happens to everybody. Like
Yeah.
like even for me, it's like, come on, chop chop, integrate this, like show up. And I'm like, oh, in the physical here, life happens, like it's true, but it requires that. It's just our souls are so powerful that we signed up for such powerful journeys that it's like, so like we're like, yeah, we got this, and then here we are, and we're moving through this, and it's like, if we didn't hear it that strongly, we probably would be like squirrel, like there's just so like there's so much in this world that is so amazing, and
Yeah.
like you get to a certain point and it's like there is so much to do in this ascension and in experience of this world, and like grid work and portal, like there's just so much that it's like, oh yeah, there's still downloads, and there's teaching, like there's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened then is, like, you kind of pulled us back down, and that's when I started to go to the 25th, to the 17th, to the 13th, and they were coded with kind of terrible things, honestly.
Wait,
And I
which
didn't.
ones? 12 and
It
13?
was the 25th, and I was surprised. I was like, the
Well, that's your
25th.
ancestral lineage. So that's where the curses like hid, right?
Yeah.
That's like the zone of all of the curses, because it's the ancestral bloodlines.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna tell you guys what they were. Hold on. Where did it go?
It's getting real.
Now, of course, it's like eluding me here. Okay. It was the 25th was murder and high stakes life.
Oh, you said that. Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
what? It was just like, whatever, we're gonna keep going. And then 17th was hunger and suffering. 13th, excuse me, there's a big car coming. 13th was coded with fear and financial issues. And I just noted them all down, and I was like, okay, what is that? And then all of a sudden, after I noted it, the 13th and the 25th to the 13th collapsed on each other. It's like it folded on itself and opened up to like this bigger container space within the pillar. So like I could see above me was the pillar still, and then it kind of became this bigger container, and it felt like all of that was gone, and it felt like the energy felt like a sunny vacation in Mexico, like just
Okay, so
bright.
backstory to that though, because I'm going to add some things to it. So
Yeah.
while she's seeing these visuals and while she's experiencing this, what we are doing is we are moving through specific chakra points and checking for curses, for spells, for enchantments, for vows that we have taken that are now interfering specifically in this module that we're talking about for in our career and soul purpose and business financial flow. Okay, so this was like a specific thing. So we're looking for all of this, and we're working with parts of ourselves that have been shattered. We're working with our guides that are coming in, like ancestors, right? So we're looking to shift, to cleanse, to cut the cords, to unhook, to undo, to literally obliterate these controls that have been installed. Some of them were for our benefit back in the days. Like some curses were literally put on us for like to help back in the days, but they stayed in the bloodlines,
Yeah.
right? And then some others were actually, you know, vengeful, like, you know, the kind of curse that we think about. And there's so many of these. So while we're moving through this, there's specific words and there's specific energetic words that we are utilizing in the container, right? So we're moving through saying these things in our minds, feeling these feels in our hearts, and we're inching and we're clearing. So she's seeing all these things and she's like, okay, like murder, let's keep going. Wow, something was attached to that. So there was probably like a massive curse, right? From attached to, or something had to do with that. Like, oh my gosh, you know, like blood.
Yeah.
That's like bloodline stuff.
It was like
And
a high stakes life. It was like, what? You guys, like, I did not, you gotta, like, when you're doing this too with Sonia, it's like, you gotta just like listen to her, but also like you whatever you hear,
yeah,
like
it
whatever,
comes in for you.
just
Because
like
it is a lot of work for me to like hold this energy. I speak as much as I can, and there's things that we have to get done because it's like you're in the for real there. You're like in your DNA ancestral records. You know what I mean? Like we're actually like getting down to business when it comes to being light workers. That's how I see it. It's like we are changing the story on this planet. You know, it's for real. And so you're up there, and I always want to make sure everybody's safe, and I hold everybody, and I'm aware, you know, of what's going on. And at the same time, I see things and I speak them, but there's so much that individually happens for everybody. But there are certain things that have to be like specifically done, kind of like anybody that works with like DNA activations or like Akashic records. Like once you've done this work, there's a specific sequence of things, right, that unlocks or where you get answers, or it has to be done in a certain way. But specifically for spells, like, and for these kinds of like occulted things and distortions, like we get fucked with for a reason. Do you know what I mean? Like there are forces in the world that we're up against that don't want the success of what we're doing, and that's just very real, you know?
yeah.
And so there's, you know, there's been hidden things, there's been systems, there's all sorts of stuff. So when we get to those moments, like we have to get very specific, and the journey for everybody is very unique and individual because it's like everybody has their things. But this was a way, yeah. So you work with the words, with the declarations, with the specific, you know, ways that we say things and the work that we do. And then there's always time also, you know, of silence for everybody to do the things that need to be done.
Yeah. And what do you think about like people doing it multiple times?
Mm-hmm. For sure, especially if I would say wait to feel like you've integrated that, and then do it again. And I've been asked this because, especially when it's your first time working on this segment of your energy, think about like, let's relate it back to Kundalini because that's, you know, like common language. It's like, think about your chakras in the body. Imagine only moving through them once and thinking that you're activating and clearing everything out. So it's kind of like, you know what I mean? Like I move through everything in the body, and it's like, well, you began that flow. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of like, it's the same. It's just not inside of our body. So there's so much in there. Think about all the things that are linked, like in our hearts, in our solar, like all the stuff that we've been carrying, like our belief systems, you know, like root chakras, they're mirrored in our ancestral records. I mean, it's just that we don't carry them all in the body because we can't hold all of that physically. But it's all connected. But once we clean it, now it can reconcile. Now it can like all collapse in because it's cleaned out. But if it was to come in and not be cleaned, that would wipe you out. That's like a month in bed. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, this is good to know. I would love to do it again. Had a wonderful experience. Awesome.
Good, I'm so glad. Yeah, so you can do it again. Wait for that. So this is like, I was marrying that to this. Like, go back and see the difference that you've made.
Yeah.
right? It's kind of like you just kind of like remodeled your energy field.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, oh, I see. And this happened and this happened, you know? And so it's like, yeah.
It's interesting to me too, like what the biggest message I kept hearing, it they just kept saying restore, 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 and it was like constant, from above, from the earth, and it was just like, now I'm kind of understanding a little bit more too of like these messages I got in these different dimensions and how they've shown up in parts of my life in the physical, and like they must be the biggest things to clear from like my ancestral line that is affecting things. And it's weird because like I've had at different points in my life experiences with all of those things. So yeah, it's very interesting. The whole thing was just a lot. And the last thing that happened too was like at the very end, you know, you call us to kind of look more towards the earth, and my ears were just so loud and buzzing, and it was like there was something about, there was too much distraction, and like it was loud, like it felt like I could hear all these voices, and it felt like it was just like, go away, like ugh, like too loud, I can't hear because I'm hearing that. And then it's like, so how do you, would you recommend, like if that is happening for people, like when the density happens, like, you know, just really like more energy to get above it, or like what would you do?
So what it is you want to go vertical instead of lateral. Yeah. And what happens for a lot of people, and so the more you actually learn to stay in your lane, as I call it, like to stay in your chakra pillar lane, it's like the moment we kind of go over here, right? You tap into the collective. You're not in your own field anymore. And when you're tuned into the collective, somebody who's sensitive, who's psychic, who has superpowers, who has sensitivities, like all these things, that's what happens. And then it's confusing. And that's literally what happens for a lot of people unless they're trained in dream time. A lot of people experience the astral planes in their dreams, right? Like, oh yeah, I go there in my dreams, or like I lucid dream, or they have medicine journeys and stuff. But if they're not trained in actually keeping their channel clear and clean, then they go sideways. And when you go sideways, you're now mixed with everybody else chakras and pillars and connections. So you're kind of like crossing the phone lines, you know what I mean? Like, and now you hear everybody. Because if this was our red line, as we're used to like seeing it, you know what I mean? Like our red line, like connection, it's kind of like that dial up to God, you know, God's self, to creator of all that is, universe, how you call it. But it's like, it definitely your higher self. Like if you have this phone line and everybody has this phone line, now all of a sudden you're like sideways and you're in everybody's lines, right? Yeah. So it's like, you got to stay in your lane. And then the more you learn to do this, the more it's kind of like your pillar gets strengthened. You know, it's like the same as the chakras in our body. You get strengthened, and it's like you work out those like muscles, or those energetic muscles, and then now it's like, you know, for me it's like you're up and down, and it becomes this like, but I've been doing this for so long, like this lymphatic exchange where it's kind of like, you know, you're in constant connection and flow. And so we were like, hey, what's happening over here, what's happening over here? And it's like, ooh, and I can go and look, but it took work, right? And so it's like, at first it's like you have to clear out the chimney. It's like, I got this like chimney connection, I gotta go clean it up and, you know, like start to like run air through it. And so that's what I would recommend, is to really practice that focus and that grounding, which by the way, I have a lot of this like stuff on my YouTube too, or on my app that you can find. Everybody that wants to just kind of like, you know, like how do I actually stay in this? But it's always about your connection to your heart. It starts from your heart to the heart of the earth and the heart of the divine, the heart of like God or the universe, how you relate, right? Like that's where the connection is. And those are the points. And so it's like, yes, it's everywhere, but there's a connection for you. Yes. And so it's unique and it's individual. And that's where you will get the most, you know, where it's like, it's not ADD because you're like, it's here. You start to go here. and you hear things and it can be overwhelming. So
Yeah, I think like social media makes it very challenging if you're very sensitive. And, like TikTok, for example, it can get in your head. And I think that's a little bit of where I see a lot of the collective energy right now is we are kind of stuck there. And, it's like we all influence each other, but like there's not enough of us at this moment, honestly, that connected to the higher realms. I think there was a massive awakening. This is just my perspective, Sonia. I don't know what you think, but like there was like a massive awakening in 2020. And you have to learn how to transverse the astral plane. Like it's a confusing place to be. And it can feel kind of like a war if you let it, right? Like I felt like I kind of went through that. And if I don't pay attention to my energy, me, like who also is very much like working in the chakras all the time, I can very much get like pulled and get confused. And I'll tell Britt sometimes, like, I got to be really careful because I can be very like impressionable.
but
And
you're also a projector. Okay, because I know
exactly.
this about you. So like we would have to look at like when we look at all these things, it's like so you're an open channel. So projectors are meant to be like, like channels that way. And so you are impressionable. You probably have arrows that come in this way. And so guarding your energy field is like of the utmost importance. Even if you're taking care of your body, right? It's like we have so much. It's kind of like, how we used to say, like, it's not enough if you go to the gym and drink your green juice, but like if your thoughts are shit, you're still not doing the work, right? It used to be like that. Now it's like if you're not doing,
That,
like your yoga and your green and thinking right and traveling the astral planes correctly and showing up in your truth, like you're still not doing it because the stakes keep getting higher.
And that's what it feels like sometimes, where you're just like, you can't let it slip. And so that's why, the dedication and the commitment and,
I
the
don't
stuff
think we
that we talk,
understood what we were in
we,
for. Like when
we didn't.
everybody is like, "Oh my God, code's awakening!" Like everything that's happening,
No.
and you can't stop. Do you know who said this? Which is one of the things I remember all the time. Because sometimes, and I went through this last year. I'm like, can I just be more relatable for people? And like, can I just? So many people were like, "Oh my God, I want to work with you," but like the way that you talk, it's like I don't even know it. Like it was so out of reach, and I was like, "Huh? How do I do this? How do I go?" And that was like, that actually ended yesterday with the lunar eclipse. I'm like, I am done. I was like, not that it was a bad thing, but like, it's just not my mission and not my purpose. But it's like what we signed up for. It's like Barbara Marciniak said, once you start with light, putting light in your body, you can't stop. And I don't think that we realize that. So that's why I was like, well, I know so much. Like I seriously know so damn much. Like by now, it's like, I mean, it's extraordinary. It's amazing. And I'm like, why don't I just teach this way? Like the things that I know. And it's like, no, we get to keep going. You get to go beyond. You can't just talk about like all of this other people. It's kind of like those of us that know things, we get to continue to pioneer and get weird and get out there and, get in there. Mark is like, can't stop. He knows.
Yeah. And I think, like my journey was I got mold poisoning, and it like zapped my energy. It messed me up so much, so that like one, I really had a lot of really brilliant lessons I learned through it, but it kind of taught me also that like if you are not super freaking vigilant about your physical body, like you can when you it's like when you've got so much light coming in and you feel the absence of it, it feels like a fall from grace, and it's terrifying. And also,
Well,
to
that's
then,
why a lot of people disconnect. Yeah.
and that's I think part of why I disconnected a bit from the higher realms, because I'm like I
But you can't
couldn't,
do it if your body is not
my
healthy. So that's the
body
first
wasn't
part.
healthy.
Yeah, that's always the first part.
So
Yeah.
then I had to get the body healthy again and strong again. And then things started to open up, but I kept feeling like there's a thing like I can connect with like guides, but they were not the guides that I was connecting with. And it was like I felt like I wasn't able to like reach and like say hello.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't get
Yeah.
there.
Like you're underneath, like you're
Yeah,
being
like
held.
I
Yeah.
held, and that's what when I opened the energy field, I felt held, and I was like, okay, so this is, and then it was like restore, restore, restore. I'm like, okay, I just feel,
Because
I
you
told
have to
Britt,
be strong enough
yeah,
to access those things. Otherwise, your light will shine bright and you will be seen. And this is just real stuff. And it's like that's why we say armor of light and like learn that
yeah,
because otherwise you're like they're shiny, like ah, and then like you attract even more hooks when you come back down. And so it's like you don't want to do that.
yeah. So I knew it was like a protection mechanism, but it was also to
But
the point
sometimes it
where,
also feels like it's counter, you know what I mean? It's like that's radio waves. That's the stuff that's broadcasted in our Wi-Fi's, in our radios, in our satellite towers. Like everything is meant to dumb us down, to keep us, away, entertained, like don't look up, like look sideways. Like
yeah,
everything is about that. And so it's like this is one of the things I would say that's most important. When you decide to do it, go for it,
yeah,
right? Like go for it at 100% and stay with it. But it's kind of like you have to keep going because if you do a little bit, it's like the people that do a little bit at a time, right? And it's like, oh, I'm going to try again. Oh my gosh, I'm going to try again. I'm going to do this, that. And then it's like, it doesn't work because you never actually get there, right?
yeah,
It's a fucking marathon. Like it's not like just like, whoop, I touched it and then I'm down. And so you have to be prepared that when you know certain truths and when you hit certain levels, you have to keep going. And then there's places that are safe. And so the stuff I mapped out. So it's like you want to do this stretch between where we are and, for example, the 13th chakra, all in one space, all in one spot, because that's a place where you can land and now you can like work with all of this and you're good. Right. And then from the 13th, you want to go straight to 27 and like land there and clear there. Now you can work in between. But it's kind of like rock climbing. If you're not like, you know what I mean? You
mm-hmm.
have to get to the safe anchoring place where you know that you're held and you know you're going to be able to work because otherwise the other spots, it's almost like, how do I put words to this? It's like it can be visible and it's not complete. And anything incomplete can get hacked, right?
Yeah. And
It's
that's
like,
where, when
yeah.
I was going to try to do it on my own, you were like, be careful, and I knew that. And I dipped my toe in and I had like a few hooks I could see and I pulled out what I could. And then I faced off with one of them and I was like, I started falling asleep. I'm like, I'm just going to close this down and actually get guidance because, I don't quite know what this is. And I need to be really protected and I really need to take this a bit more seriously than I was. Like more protection,
Yeah.
more energy, more grounding, like know what you're doing before you go do it. And I think we talked about that with energy. Like don't mess around with energy. Like you don't, this way when we do Kundalini, like you don't have alcohol. Like
Yeah,
don't
it's
have alcohol.
the same
Don't
thing. Yeah.
don't be like microdosing stuff while you're doing Kundalini. Like don't do that stuff. Like you are you can very easily distort. Like you're playing with like your energy field, you're playing with your brain waves. Like just be mindful and like take yourself seriously. Like have fun on this journey, but like also take yourself seriously, that like you're not just this,
And
you
it's
are a little,
Oh,
we're a little
yeah, and it's
delicate.
so interesting. I remember I was like, when you were like, I'm just gonna go do it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna tell you because I know that you have training. But I was like, so like, And so I'm glad. And it's so true, and it's such a testament to this. It's like we're all just meant. Like it's like we have these jobs, right? Like it's like we're meant to do this part. And so I'm so glad that you went in and got, because it's not that's like, it's like, that's just my thing, it's
Yeah.
like, it's just my thing. And people are like, how do you know that? I'm like, because my soul came for it.
Yeah.
It's like, I had to learn, I had to like figure it out. And that's just kind of like, Yeah. But we
No
take it
drunk
seriously.
meditations.
Yeah, no drunk meditations.
No.
Bobby is one of my students. He knows.
It's like, just, you know, go for a walk or go sit outside, you know, don't, in
Yeah.
silence. Don't do energy meditations when you're doing that. I know you have to go, Sonia.
Yeah.
But
How can I clear some blockages or distortion? I really struggle with this. Okay, Selena, we are talking about this bundle that's called Manifested. Go on the link in my bio. It's $99 literally, and you're going to get access to this and so much more, and it will help you insanely. This is about blockages, distortions, spells, like old curses that are in your chakra pillar. So it's going to make, which is your bloodline. Okay. Like everything, when we talk about our chakras, it's all the records of our soul. So this is a great, thanks for asking that question. It's a great way of like ending this, because it's like, that's the, it's everything that we need to do.
yeah.
It's everything that we're talking about.
Oh wait, there's a comment about, is your background AI? It
No,
looks
this is
very
my
expensive.
house.
Yeah.
This is real life. This is not Instagram AI. This is real life. Oh my God. I hate that this is now up for grabs. Like with people are like, I'm like, no, I actually have things, experience things. Like those are real crystal wings. Like I go to the places, to the beautiful places. There's so many people that do stuff, but like that's like in AI, and it's like, but you're not really doing the thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, why don't you go experience the earth and actually live it, you know? Instead of
I know.
working on your AI.
I know.
That's a conversation for another day,
Another
Tara. We
day,
have.
but yeah, this was interesting, very interesting, very opening, and I'm gonna do it again, and see what comes through, because I think that there's other things in there that, like, and I think I fell asleep for maybe like 3 or 4 minutes,
Which
so
is normal, and like it's just, I call it, and I told you this, I call it, it's your higher self that takes you offline. There are some things your subconscious is just like, no, subconsciously you know that your conscious isn't ready to process yet. And so they go into almost like a drip system. Like it's stuff that it's like, there's a part of us that's like, hallelujah, she's here, you know, like, let's do this. But then it's like, she's not ready to actually know this. And so your conscious works it out, and then it integrates slowly. And then it takes a few days, and then you're like, I know Kung Fu. You know, like I'm a different person. It's like, I say that all the time. It's like, all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, everything changed.
Yeah.
Like it keeps integrating. So that's why the longer you're offline, the longer period of integration it's going to take. But it's something that, like, for example, some of my students say this all the time. It's like, oh my gosh, I didn't pass out for even 1 second. I didn't like fall asleep for even 1 second. I'm there, you know, because they know it's like, now you're holding consciousness at that level. And it just requires practice and work. It's not like I'm more special than anybody else. It's just that, like, it's just practice and work. It's like, you know, I'm not bodybuilder lean because, you know, somebody that dedicated themselves to doing it, now they can, you know, now they have that, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I used to fall asleep in like Kundalini sadhanas during like all of the mantras, and now I don't do that. But I used to, it just used to take me out, you know,
yeah, for
like
integration.
pass out. Yeah. So, you know, you work up to it. And so this is so cool. I just want everyone to experience it. And it's like in the bundle right now. So it's very affordable.
The course itself is $2,200. You can actually get access to this one breakthrough module inside of this bundle for $99. So
yeah, and there's 15 other courses as well. So it's like such
they're
a
amazing.
blessing.
They're amazing. There's so many amazing like healers and teachers, and you know, and Tara and Britt have like everybody is contributing to this part. It's one of those things that we do like once a year because
Once a year.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and we're also giving away the fall equinox class as a bonus for everyone that's joining. So, you know, it's like there's just a lot included, and you know, this experience alone, 100% worth the $99. Like hands down will like change like, I don't want to say everything, but I could say everything, you know, like it's super life-changing.
I'm telling my This is literally, you guys, Jessica, I'm messaging you right now that I am like late for our
I know.
session because I'm here finishing this combo.
Sorry, Jessica. All right.
I think she's actually on, and I'm like, we have a reading, and I'm like, I gotta go.
She's
Hi. Okay, you know why I'm late. That's so
Thank
funny.
you, Jessica, for that.
Thank you, Jessica.
But yeah, you guys, so go to Sonia's profile, or however are you giving your link out? Yeah. Your link.
She's like, no worries. So that's like, you know what I'm like, yeah, it's so funny. But you know, sometimes like these conversations, it's like, oh my gosh.
I know.
So yeah, go to the link here in my bio. It's at Sonia G _Godfrey. And then go jump in because, and the other thing too, is that everybody that registers through on our link, on my link, right? So go and get it there. I will know that you got it. And if you need help or anything like that, like through this course, I'm so happy to offer you assistance. Like you're now part of like our, you know, our flow. And like, we know, me and the team know. And if there's anything like, and everybody can message me, of course, it's just like, it feels like,
yeah.
So now we,
because it's like, if this is your introduction, like what an introduction. So
I know. If this is your, so for anybody that has purchased the bundle, like across like any and all things that we were just saying, like we need to do like a panel or something.
Yeah.
But like, if this is your introduction, but here's the thing that I have to trust, because I used to be scared of this, you know, but I'm like, if you're called to do this, and if you like buy this bundle and you come from someone else's, you know, one of the other like teachers, and you see this break the curse, I mean, this is pretty obvious. This is like, you're getting into some deep stuff. You know what I mean? Like, this is not, and it's written on the page. Like when you go to put in your code to get the bundle, like it explains like you're in for a breakthrough, right? There's a massive breakthrough. So then if you're like, yeah, you know what? Actually, I feel like I'm going to do that. Like, then I have to trust that that's meant for you, that something in you is like, oh my God, like normal things haven't worked. I need something fucking different. Like, you know, it's like, it's part of the tagline for the course. It's like, when real life is stranger and crazier than fiction, you may need crazier than fiction remedies, you know? And so it's like, do we want to go to that level? So I have to trust that there's a reason, and, you know, you're a match for it. And if you're a match for it, then, you know, I give you all the instructions, all the directions, and then afterwards we can figure it out. It's like, oh my God, you know, like, and you have all these downloads, and then, you know, me and the team are here.
So anyway, this is very it's very cool. I think a lot of you guys are ready to do this work, and I mean, if you're feeling at all pulled, like this is something to do at this moment in time, truly. Like,
it's right now.
It's
and
right
like
now.
So much is shifting. I was just telling, I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna jump off and like go and meet with Jessica. But I was telling you the other day on the phone, I was like, all of the dimensional collapse, I haven't actually said this on a live yet, but the dimensional collapse is going to start to come in for everybody after this equinox and solar eclipse. Like this is like, we're in this. And so it's like, whatever we have not cleared, it's almost like a pile of paperwork, you know, that has like all of the mail that you haven't gone through, all of the shit that you have to deal with that's been piling up. Whatever hasn't been resolved, it's about to come down. And so it's like, this is a great moment to handle that. This is a great moment to go and clean that up, because then it's all gonna come down at the same time, and that can be like overwhelming. And so it's like, this is a way to like really be in the energy and almost like get ahead of the energy, right? It's like, because you want to ride the wave on top. This is how I say it. It's like the cleaner your frequency is, and we know this, like the clearer your frequency is, the easier you're going to have to match to those like cleaner, higher frequencies. So
so I think it's going to be very, very interesting. I'm going to be doing this before. I'll probably do it again this weekend, and then maybe we'll talk about it again.
Yeah. That's why Wendy's saying I'm going through a mountain of papers right now. manifested physical reality of the things that are, like that way.
Yeah.
But that's really what it feels like. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Interesting. Okay, you guys.
Let me know
All
how
right.
it goes after you do it
I
again. Yeah, and
will.
everybody that purchases this, like DM me, especially if it's your first time ever working with me, like let me know how this goes. Like this, I am so here for it. This is like revolutionary work. So yes. Yay, Selena just signed
I
up.
love
I'm
it.
so excited. Let me know how this goes, especially because we like had this combo in like real time. Like, let me know how it goes. I want to hear feedback, especially if it's your first time or if you're just starting to work, in these things. Like, awesome. Welcome.
Yeah. Amazing, you guys. Okay.
Okay. I love you,
Okay.
Tara. Always so good.
Mwah. All right.
Okay.
Sign on.
See you on the next one.
Okay. Bye.